Ethiopia's history stretches back to the very dawn of human civilization. Archaeological evidence suggests that the region was home to some of humanity's earliest ancestors, with fossils like Lucy discovered in the Afar region dating back 3.2 million years. The area that would become Ethiopia has been continuously inhabited for millennia, making it one of the world's oldest centers of human habitation. The earliest organized civilization in the region was the Kingdom of DMT, which flourished from around 980 to 400 BCE in northern Ethiopia and Eritrea. This kingdom showed strong South Arabian influences, evident in its architecture, script, and religious practices. DMT served as a crucial link between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, establishing trade networks that would define the region's character for centuries to come, and became one of the great powers of the ancient world alongside Rome, Persia, and China. The most significant early Ethiopian state was the Kingdom of Aksum, which emerged around 100 CE. Located in what is now northern Ethiopia and Eritrea, Axum controlled vital trade routes between the Remang Empire and ancient India, dealing in luxury goods such as gold, ivory, incense, and exotic animals. Axum's prosperity was built on its strategic position along the Red Sea coast and its control of the port of Ajulis. The kingdom developed its own currency, minted gold, silver, and bronze coins, and erected massive stone obelisks that still stand today as testaments to its architectural prowess. The tallest of these obelisks reached over 30 meters in height, representing some of the largest monolithic structures ever erected. The most transformative event in Axumite history was the conversion of King Ezana to Christianity around 330 CE, making Axum one of the first Christian kingdoms in the world. This conversion established Ethiopia's enduring Christian identity and connected it to the broader Christian world, particularly the Eastern Orthodox tradition. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church developed its own unique characteristics, incorporating local traditions with Christian theology. Axum began to decline from the 7th century onwards due to the rise of Islam, which disrupted its trade networks and environmental factors including climate change and soil exhaustion. The kingdom's influence waned and political power gradually shifted southward into the Ethiopian highlands. After a period of fragmentation, the Zagwe dynasty emerged in the 12th century, ruling from their capital at Roa. The Zagwe kings, though not claiming Solomonic descent like their predecessors and successors, left an indelible mark on Ethiopian history through their remarkable architectural achievements. The most famous Jag ruler was King Lalibela, who commissioned the construction of 11 rock-hewn churches in his capital city. These churches, carved directly from solid volcanic rock, represent one of the world's most extraordinary architectural accomplishments. The Church of St. George, carved in the shape of a Greek cross, is perhaps the most famous, but all 11 churches demonstrate incredible engineering skill and artistic vision. The Zagwe period also saw the continued development of Ethiopian Christianity, with the establishment of monasteries and the production of religious manuscripts. The dynasty maintained Ethiopia's Christian identity while developing distinctly Ethiopian religious practices and traditions. In 1270, the Zagwe dynasty was overthrown by Yakuno Amlak, who claimed descent from the ancient Axumite kings and, through them, from King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba. Emperor Amda-Sion I extended Ethiopian control over Muslim territories to the east, while his successors continued to expand the empire's boundaries. This began the Solomonic dynasty, which would rule Ethiopia in various forms until 1974. The early Solomonic period was marked by expansion, consolidation, and cultural flowering. This period saw the emergence of the Ethiopian Empire as a major regional power. Emperor Zara Yaqub was particularly significant, implementing religious reforms that strengthened the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and promoted Ethiopian cultural unity. He standardized religious practices, commissioned the translation of religious texts into Ge'ez, and established the foundations for Ethiopian ecclesiastical law. The 16th century brought unprecedented challenges with the invasion of Ahmad ibn Ibrahim al-Ghazi, known as Gragn. From 1529 to 1543, this Muslim leader from the Adil Sultanate conquered much of the Ethiopian Empire, destroying churches, converting populations to Islam, and threatening the very existence of Christian Ethiopia. The Ethiopians eventually triumphed with Portuguese assistance, but the wars devastated the country and weakened the empire significantly. Following the Gragn Wars, Ethiopia faced new pressures from Oromo migrations from the south. The Oromo people, seeking new lands and opportunities, moved into the Ethiopian highlands in large numbers, fundamentally altering the demographic and political landscape of the empire. Rather than simply conquering, many Oromo groups were integrated into Ethiopian society, though this process involved considerable conflict and adjustment. In 1636, Emperor Fasilides established a new capital at Gondar, beginning what historians call the Gondar period. This era represented a renaissance in Ethiopian culture, architecture, and learning. The emperors built magnificent castles and palaces, creating an architectural style that blended Ethiopian, Portuguese, and Indian influences. Gondar became a center of learning and culture, with the establishment of schools and the production of illuminated manuscripts. The city attracted scholars, artists, and craftsmen from across the region. The Church of Debre Birhan Selassie, with its famous ceiling of angelic faces, exemplifies the artistic achievements of this period. However, the Gondar period also saw the gradual weakening of central authority. Regional nobles gained increasing power, and by the mid-18th century, the emperor had become largely ceremonial. This period of weak central government is known as the Era of the Princes, lasting from 1769 to 1855. Tewodros attempted to modernize and reunify Ethiopia, importing European weapons and trying to establish a modern army. The Zemin Mesafint was characterized by political fragmentation, with powerful regional rulers controlling their territories independently, while paying nominal allegiance to increasingly powerless emperors. Despite political chaos, this period saw continued cultural development and the preservation of Ethiopian traditions. The era ended with the rise of Kasa Hailu, who became Emperor Tewodros II in 1855. However, his reign ended tragically when he committed suicide in 1868 during a British military expedition launched in response to his imprisonment of European missionaries and diplomats. Emperor Johannes IV continued the process of reunification while facing external threats from Egypt and the Mahdist forces of Sudan. His reign saw continued modernization efforts and the strengthening of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, but ended with his death in battle against Mahdist forces. Emperor Menelik II, originally the King of Shua, ascended to the imperial throne in 1889 and transformed Ethiopia into a modern African state. His reign marked the beginning of Ethiopia's emergence as a significant player in international affairs and its successful resistance to European colonization. Menelik's greatest achievement was the decisive defeat of Italian forces at the Battle of Adwa on March 1, 1896. This victory made Ethiopia the only African nation to successfully resist European colonization during the scramble for Africa. The battle had profound implications not only for Ethiopia, but for the entire continent, inspiring anti-colonial movements and establishing Ethiopia as a symbol of African independence. Under Menelik, Ethiopia underwent significant modernization. He established the new capital at Addis Ababa in 1886. built the country's first railway connecting the capital to the port of Djibouti, introduced modern communications including telegraph systems, and began administrative reforms. He also expanded Ethiopian territory significantly, incorporating the southern regions of Sidamo, Kaffa, and other areas into the empire. Ras Tafari Makaman became regent in 1916 and emperor in 1930. Taking the name Haile Selassie I, his long reign saw Ethiopia's integration into the international community, extensive modernization efforts, and ultimately, the end of the imperial system. Haile Selassie continued Menelik's modernization program, establishing schools, hospitals, and modern infrastructure. Ethiopia joined the League of Nations in 1923, becoming one of the first African members. The emperor promulgated Ethiopia's first written constitution in 1931, though it maintained autocratic rule. The most challenging period of Haile Selassie's reign came with the Italian invasion of 1935–1936. Despite fierce resistance, Ethiopia was occupied by fascist Italy under Mussolini. Haile Selassie went into exile, making a famous speech to the League of Nations warning of the dangers of appeasement. Ethiopian resistance continued throughout the occupation, and with British assistance during World War II, the country was liberated in 1941. Post-liberation Ethiopia saw continued modernization, including the establishment of Addis Ababa University in 1950 and Ethiopia's role as a founding member of the United Nations and the Organization of African Unity in 1963. However, Haile Selassie's autocratic rule, failure to address land reform, and inability to modernize the political system led to growing opposition. The 1973–1974 famine, which the government initially tried to hide, sparked widespread protests. Students, workers, and eventually the military turned against the emperor. In September 1974, Haile Selassie was deposed in a military coup, ending over 3,000 years of monarchical rule. The military committee known as the Derg took power in 1974, initially led by General Amin Andam and later by Colonel Mengistu Haile Mariam. The Derg implemented radical socialist policies, including land redistribution, nationalization of industries, and alignment with the Soviet Union. The period was marked by extreme violence, including the Red Terror campaign against political opponents, which resulted in hundreds of thousands of deaths. The government also faced numerous rebellions, particularly in Eritrea and Tigray, leading to devastating civil wars. The 1984–1985 famine, exacerbated by civil war and poor government policies, brought international attention to Ethiopia's plight. Despite massive international aid, the Derg's policies and ongoing conflicts prevented effective famine relief. The Derg regime collapsed in 1991 as rebel forces, primarily the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, captured Addis Ababa. Mengistu fled to Zimbabwe, where he remains in exile. The EPRDF, led by Meles Zenawi, established a transitional government in 1991 and implemented a new federal system based on ethnic federalism. The 1995 Constitution created a federal republic with 9 regional states organized largely along ethnic lines. One of the most significant developments was Eritrea's independence in 1993 following a referendum. However, relations between Ethiopia and Eritrea deteriorated, leading to a devastating border war from 1998 to 2000 that killed an estimated 100,000 people. Under EPRDF rule, Ethiopia experienced significant economic growth, with GDP expanding rapidly and major infrastructure projects including dams, roads, and railways. The government pursued a developmental state model, investing heavily in agriculture, manufacturing, and services. However, the system also faced criticism for authoritarian governance, human rights violations, and ethnic tensions. Protests, particularly in the Oromia and Amhara regions, intensified from 2014 onwards, leading to political reforms and the rise of Abiy Ahmed as prime minister in 2018. Abiy's reforms included releasing political prisoners, allowing exiled opposition groups to return, and pursuing peace with Eritrea, for which he won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2019. However, ethnic conflicts intensified, culminating in the devastating war in Tigray that began in November 2020 and has resulted in thousands of deaths and a humanitarian crisis. Ethiopia's cultural landscape reflects its complex history and diverse population. The country is home to over 80 ethnic groups speaking more than 80 languages, with Amharic serving as the federal working language. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church remains central to national identity, maintaining ancient traditions including the celebration of Tinkat and the observance of a unique calendar with 13 months. Ethiopian cuisine, dominated by injera and various spice stews, reflects both highland traditions and diverse regional influences. The country is also renowned as the birthplace of coffee, with elaborate coffee ceremonies forming an integral part of social life. Traditional music and dance vary dramatically across regions, from the shoulder dancing eskista of the Amhara to the energetic performances of southern peoples. Ethiopian literature includes both ancient religious texts written in Ge'ez and modern works in various local languages. Ethiopia's history spans millennia, from the earliest human ancestors to modern challenges of nation-building and development. Throughout this long history, Ethiopia has maintained its independence, developed a unique Christian civilization, and played a significant role in African affairs. The country's federal system attempts to balance ethnic diversity with national unity, while ongoing conflicts and development challenges continue to shape its future. Ethiopia remains one of Africa's most important nations, with a rich cultural heritage and a pivotal role in continental politics and development.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more engaging historical content.